I'm begging you. If anyone ever hands you a smiling blue rabbit doll for your birthday, don't take it. I wish someone had warned me before I turned 19 that IT was supposed to be a small thing. Just a quiet birthday at my cousin's apartment in Cedar Heights. A boring little city that only ever made the news for snowstorms and road construction. I'd just finished my first miserable semester at community college, working nights at a gas station, and I wasn't in the mood to celebrate anything. But my cousin Mia insisted. "Come on, Lena," she said over the phone. "Cake, pizza, horror movie, nothing crazy. You need a break." So I went. Her place was on the 5th floor of a tired-looking building, the kind with flickering hallway lights and stains on the carpet no one talks about. When I walked in, she'd actually tried. A cheap banner, mismatched balloons, and a lopsided chocolate cake with 19 candles jammed in the center. And on the coffee table, sitting upright, was the gift, a small plush doll, about the size of a melon, with tangled blue fur, long rabbit ears, and a grin full of blunt, too big teeth. Its eyes were black and glossy buttons that caught the light and seemed to follow me when I moved. Mia clapped. "Tada, your very own Labubu." I frowned. "My what? You seriously haven't seen them? They're all over TikTok. People collect them, dress them up, and make creepy little skits. This one was a resale limited drop, apparently." She sounded proud, like she'd scored concert tickets. I picked it up. The fur felt wrong, not soft, almost greasy, like touching hair that hadn't dried properly. A faint smell clung to it, something between damp fabric and old pennies. "I don't know," I said slowly. "It looks kind of cursed." "Exactly," she grinned. "Happy birthday, emo queen." We ate, watched a slasher movie with the volume too low, and laughed at all the badly timed jump scares. For a couple of hours, the doll just sat there on the armrest, leaning slightly to one side, that stitched grin pointed at the screen like it was watching with us. That I kept telling myself I was imagining it when it seemed to lean a little further. And a little closer. By 11, I was ready to go home. I grabbed my jacket, my phone, and my bag. Mia shoved the doll into my hands. "Don't you dare leave him here," she said. "I hunted that thing down for weeks. I really don't need." "Take it, Lena. Put it on your shelf. If you hate it, resell it and buy yourself something nice. Deal?" I didn't have the energy to argue. I tucked the Labubu under my arm and headed out into the cold. My apartment was a 15-minute walk away, just across the bridge and past the dark, sleepy line of closed shops. The air smelt like snow and exhaust. Every time I passed a street lamp, the doll's plastic eyes shone for a second, catching the light. That I tried not to look at it. Still, by the time I reached my building, my fingers had dug so hard into its side that the fur was crushed flat. Inside, everything felt normal. Radiator knocking, upstairs neighbor stomping around, the faint hum of the fridge from my tiny kitchen. I tossed the doll onto the old armchair by the window and told myself that was that. I went through my usual routine: shower, oversized t-shirt, mindless scrolling in bed. Around 1:30 a.m., I finally set the phone down and turned off the lamp. For a while, I just listened. The radiator ticking, distant cars passing on the main road, my own breathing, and then something else. A soft thump. Not loud, just enough to make my eyes snap open in the dark. I stared at the ceiling, holding my breath. Maybe it was upstairs. Maybe the building is settling. Maybe thump, CRRP. This time it was closer. The sound of fabric dragging against the floorboards. My hand fumbled for my phone. The screen lit up my face and a slice of the room around me. I turned the flashlight on, heart pounding, and swept the beam toward the doorway. The armchair by the window was empty. I didn't remember breathing as I turned the light slowly, forcing myself to look down. The Labubu was sitting on the floor beside my bedroom door, propped up perfectly, head tilted, grinning. I hadn't moved it. I knew I hadn't. "Okay," I whispered, voice shaking. Very funny, Mia. But Mia didn't have a key. No one did. My thumb hovered over her contact. But I didn't call. Because there was a part of me, a small, terrified part, that didn't want someone else to verify what I was seeing. I got out of bed, grabbed the doll with both hands, and shoved it back onto the armchair in the living room. Stay, I muttered, like talking to a dog. Then I locked the bedroom door. It took a long time to fall asleep again. When I finally did, my dreams were weird and heavy. Blue fur, wet teeth, something small and cold sitting on my chest. I woke up to sunlight and the sound of my alarm screaming in my ear. For a second, I almost laughed. Of course it was a dream. Of course. I unlocked the bedroom door and stepped into the living room. The armchair was empty again. This time, the Labubu was on the kitchen counter, sitting next to the sink, facing the window like it had been watching the sunrise. I didn't move. Didn't even blink. My throat felt tight. Someone broke in, I said out loud, because that was better than the alternative. Someone broke in and moved a stuffed toy around my apartment as a joke. I checked the door. The chain was still across. The deadbolt was still turned. The windows were locked from the inside. There was no one else there, just me. And I spent the day pretending everything was fine. I went to class, nodded through lectures I didn't hear, stocked shelves at the gas station, and smiled at customers out of reflex. Every time the store bell chimed and the door opened, I expected to see blue fur, a wide grin, button eyes. But it was just people, tired, angry, bored. Normal. When my shift ended at midnight, I had this stupid thought. Maybe if I don't go home, nothing will happen. I sat on the curb outside, scrolling through my phone with numb fingers. That's when I saw it. A video on my For You page. Some influencer in Toronto, laughing into the camera, holding up a Labubu doll almost identical to mine. Ever heard the Labubu challenge? She giggled. You stare at the smile at 3 a.m., call its name 3 times, and if it giggles back, it means you're not going to sleep alone tonight. Thousands of comments. Some joking, some not. Mine moved. I heard it in the walls. Don't play. Seriously. I locked my phone and shoved it in my pocket. I didn't go home. Not yet. I went to Mia's instead. She answered in an oversized hoodie, hair tied up, mascara smudged. What are you doing here? She mumbled. It's like 1 a.m. Did you move it? I blurted. She blinked. Move what? The doll. Did you come over to my place last night? Are you messing with me? Her expression changed, confusion folding into something like concern. Lena, no. I didn't go anywhere. I was sick all night. I can show you my DoorDash history if you don't believe me. The worst part was, I did believe her. I ended up crashing on her couch. No Labubu, no weird noises, just the ordinary sounds of old pipes and traffic. For a moment, I almost convinced myself I'd imagined everything, until I went back to my apartment the next afternoon. The smell hit me first. Wet fabric, metal, something faintly sour. The Labubu was sitting in the middle of my living room floor. In front of it. My photo frames were knocked over. The picture of me, Mia, and my ex was shredded, glass glittering on the rug. Long, thin scratches marred the floorboards in loops and circles, as if something small had been dragging its feet around and around and around. There was something new, tattooed on the wall above the armchair, written in shaky, black marker letters that definitely hadn't been there before. You smiled back. I hadn't, had I? I remembered holding it in the lamplight, looking at that crooked grin. My lips twitching in that, this is so ugly, it's funny way. I remembered my reflection in the window behind it. Just for a second. My own mouth curved up. I backed toward the door. Every nerve screaming to her. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from an unknown number. Don't throw me away tonight. It's your birthday wish. Remember? Birthday cake, rabbit face. The Labubu was still sitting there, still grinning. But now I could hear it. Not loud, not clear, just beneath the hum of the fridge and the ticking of the radiator. A soft, breathy sound like something small was trying very hard not to laugh. People say missing person cases go cold after 48 hours, but sometimes the missing aren't gone. Sometimes they're waiting for you to find them. I learned that Holly Mercer disappeared behind the old maintenance shed in Redbrook Park. The same night the police blamed me. But the truth is worse than anything they imagined. Because Holly didn't vanish. She was taken, and the thing that took her was smiling. Before I tell you what happened, you need to know this. I'm not a bad guy. Everyone in our small town, parents, teachers, church ladies with their fake smiles, they all think I was the last person to see Holly alive. They're right. But they're wrong about what ISAW.IT started 2 weeks before she vanished. Holly and the Blue Rabbit doll. Holly was 13. Bright, loud, the kind of kid who chewed blue gum and wore bracelets up to her elbows. She also had this obsession with rare, collectible plush toys. TikTok trend stuff, and her crown jewel was some creepy little rabbit thing with big teeth and matted blue fur. She called it Mr. Lou. Not Labubu, Mr. Lou, like it was a person. Whenever she brought it to the park, she treated it like a real baby, tucking it into her hoodie, pushing its ears back, wiping its glassy eyes with her sleeve. That I told her it was creepy. She laughed, but that laugh had been changing, growing quieter, tighter. Night 1, the giggle. I am a park custodian. I sweep pathways, empty trash bins, and chase out raccoons pretending to be dogs. That Tuesday night, I was locking up when I heard it. A giggle. Not a kid's giggle. Not a human giggle. Something small. Wet. Like breath pushing through broken teeth. It came from behind the maintenance shed. I froze. Hello? I called out. No answer. Just the faint scrape of something dragging across gravel. When I checked behind the shed, nothing was there. Just a pile of leaves and a dead crow, half covered in mud. But something stood out. The imprints in the dirt. Not paw prints. Not shoe prints. Tiny footprints. Bare, shaped like a child's, but with sharp, pointed toes. I backed away fast. I should have reported it. I didn't. Night 2, Holly's warning. The next night, Holly was sitting on the swing set, pushing gently with her toes with Mr. Lou on her lap. Hey, I said, you're out late. She nodded, not looking at me. He keeps calling me. She whispered. I frowned. Who? She lifted the doll. Mr. Lou. He talks, but only at night. I tried to laugh it off. Plushies don't talk, Holly. She didn't laugh back. She just stared at me with wide, frightened eyes. He said he's hungry. A chill crawled up my spine. Hungry for what? She shook her head quickly. Too quickly. I'm not supposed to say. Then she stood up and hurried home, clutching the doll so tight her knuckles turned white. That was the last time I saw her alive. Or the last time she was herself. Night 3. The disappearance. It was a Thursday. Fog rolling in from the river, thick enough to drown streetlights. The park was supposed to be empty, but as I locked the main gate, I saw movement near the old shed. A figure, small, bent. I thought it was Holly. Holly, I called. The figure froze. Then it turned its head toward me. The face was wrong, too long, too round, and the eyes, they reflected like glass. I walked closer, heart pounding. Holly, are you okay? As I approached, the fog parted for a second. It wasn't her. It was the doll. Standing on its OW and at Mr. Lou. Its stitched grin stretched wider than any fabric should allow. Before I could move, something yanked hard on my jacket. I turned, and there she was, Holly. But her eyes, God, her eyes, they were all black. Like someone had scooped out the color. Her voice shook. Run. What? Run. And then she was dragged backward, jerked violently. into the darkness behind the shed, disappearing into that black fog like something had swallowed her whole. That I sprinted behind the shed. But there was nothing there, just the same tiny, bare footprints. Leading into the woods, that was the last time anyone saw Holly. The investigation, the cops grilled me for hours. You were the last adult with her. You saw her go behind the shed. You expect us to believe she was dragged by a toy. They didn't say that last part out loud, but I saw it in their eyes. A week later, they found Holly's phone in the river, screen cracked, waterlogged, but one photo survived. The detective slid it across the table to me. It was blurry, dark, taken close to the ground, but I recognized it immediately. The doll, standing in the forest, facing the camera, smiling, and behind it, a shape, tall, bent over, arms too long. A shadow in a shadow. They called it camera distortion. I knew better. Night 10, the return. I quit my job. Couldn't stand going near the park. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't unsee those eyes. Then one night, at 3:12 a.m., my front door rattled. Not a knock. A scratch, slow, deliberate, like nails dragging across wood. I grabbed a flashlight and crept to the door. The scratching stopped. I looked through the peephole. Nothing. But when I opened the door, my lungs froze, because sitting on my doorstep was the doll, soaked in dirt and river water, blue fur tangled, grin wider, eyes glinting. And next to it, a small handprint. Mud. Tiny human. Except the fingers were too long. Something shifted in the bushes across the street. A shape. Watching, waiting. And then, a giggle. That same wet, broken giggle. Holly's voice whispered through the night, layered with something else, something older. He's still hungry. I didn't pick up the doll. I didn't call the police. I just backed inside, locked the door, and prayed until sunrise. When daylight came, the doll was gone. But the handprint? Still there. And sometimes, around 3 a.m., I hear footsteps outside my window, bare, soft, wrong, like a child trying very hard not to be heard. You don't forget the sound of footsteps above your bedroom when you live on the top floor. There shouldn't be anyone up there. No tenants, no storage. Just old insulation and dust. So when I heard someone walking in the attic at 2:11 a.m. Slow, deliberate, heel-to-toe footsteps. I knew something was wrong. I didn't know it was the beginning of the night that thing decided to notice me. I didn't know it all started because of a stupid plush toy someone left outside my door. But I know now. Labubu doesn't knock. He creeps. The package with no name. My name is Caleb Rowan, 27, night shift librarian at the Cranebrook University Archives. I'm not the easily scared type. Books falling? Pipes creaking? Rats in the ceiling? Sure, whatever. But real fear isn't loud. Real fear is quiet. Like the small cardboard box sitting outside my apartment door one windy Wednesday night. No return label. No address. Just, for the upstairs resident. There was no upstairs. I brought it inside anyway, because I'm an idiot. Inside? Plush toy. Small. Blue. Wet-looking fur. Plastic eyes. Wide. Grimacing teeth. A Labubu. But not one of the cute ones people post on TikTok. This one looked used. I tossed it onto the kitchen counter and didn't think about it again. Not until that night. The footsteps 2:11 a.m. I jolted awake. Not from a dream, not from a noise inside my room, but from directly above it. Thump, 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 slow, heavy, like a child trying to walk quietly but not understanding how footsteps work. My building doesn't have an accessible attic, no stairs, no hatch. Nothing. I sat up, heart pounding. Hello? I whispered into the ceiling. The footsteps stopped. Silence swallowed the room. I reached over and turned on the bedside lamp. And that's when I noticed something worse. Much worse. My bedroom door was opened and I always close it. Always. I slid out of bed slowly, listening. The wooden floor was cold beneath my feet. When I reached the hallway, a faint breeze brushed my face. My living room window was opened and I never open it, and sitting on the windowsill was the Labubu doll, facing inward, grinning. Hands resting politely on its knees. I locked the window, grabbed the doll, and threw it into the hall closet. Then I pushed a chair in front of the closet door, because something about that toy felt like it moved on its own when no one was looking. The scratching begins at 3:02 a.m. I woke again. Not footsteps. Not breathing. Something worse. Scratch. 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 Coming out of the closet. I sat in bed, palms sweating. "Caleb, it's just your imagination?" I whispered. "Scratch." Something tapped, soft, rhythmic, like tiny fingers drumming on wood. I stared at the closet door, waiting for the chair in front of it to shift or fall or explode across the hallway, but the chair didn't move. The sound kept going, though gentle and deliberate, until just before sunrise, when I finally got the courage to check. The closet was silent. The door was untouched. The Labubu was gone. The attic hatch that shouldn't exist by morning, I had convinced myself I was sleep-deprived. Working nights, bad diet, coffee addiction, yeah, that must be it. Until I found in the hallway ceiling. A hatch. Small, wooden, old, covered in dust except for one distinct place. A handprint. A child-sized handprint. My throat tightened. There had never been a hatch there. I would have seen it. I cleaned that hallway every Sunday. Someone had added it. Or something had opened it. I felt a drop of something hit my cheek. My hand brushed it. Wet, cold, thick. A faint rusty smell hit me. Blood. I looked up. Something was dripping from the edges of the hatch. Thin, dark streaks. I stumbled back until I hit the wall. Then the footsteps started. Again, soft, padded, moving across the attic floor just overhead. Something was pacing, tracing slow circles. Above me, watching, waiting. Night 2. The Whisperi didn't sleep that day. I didn't go to work. I sat in my living room with every light on, clutching a flashlight like it was a sword. Around 1 a.m., the wind died. The building settled. And then, tap, tap, tap. On my bedroom door. I crept down the hall. The tapping didn't stop. When I slowly opened the door, there it was, the Labubu, sitting on my pillow, and behind it, something stood in the corner, tall, bent. Not human. Its limbs are too long, with joints at the wrong angles. A shadow with teeth. Its voice slid across the room like a breath over ice. "You opened the box." My knees buckled. "You let him in." I couldn't breathe. The Labubu doll lifted one arm, slowly, stiffly, and waved at me. I slammed the door shut and sprinted outside. The neighbor's warning. I banged on my neighbor's door until she opened it, startled and squinting. "Caleb? What the hell? There's something in my apartment," I gasped. "Something upstairs." She froze, her face drained of color. "You're on the top floor?" she whispered. "I know." She swallowed hard. "You need to get out." "What? Why?" "Because the woman who lived in your unit before you." She hesitated. She kept hearing footsteps too. My heart dropped. She said a toy kept moving around her apartment. A little blue rabbit with teeth. My chest tightened. What happened to her? I whispered. The neighbor looked down the hall as if afraid it might hear her. She didn't move out. A breath. She went missing. The final night, I didn't want to go back inside, but something inside me said I didn't have a choice. The hallway lights flickered as I approached my door. It was open. Just open. Not forced. Not damaged. Welcoming. The Labubu doll sat in the center of my living room. Not smiling this time. Its face was split wide, threads torn, stuffing peeking through like exposed bone. Behind it, the attic hatch was open, pitch black inside. Cold air poured down. And from the darkness above, a voice, soft and childlike, whispered my name. Caleb? Then laughter, dozens of voices, layered, whispering, laughing, crawling. Something was coming down that I backed away, heart slamming against my ribs, but the doll moved faster, jerking, twitching, dragging itself toward me. Behind it, fingers, long, thin, too many of them, reached through the attic opening that I turned and ran, down the stairs out the door, into the freezing night that I didn't stop running until I saw the lights of Cranebrook University across the river. Now I live in my office, I sleep on a cot behind the archive shelves that I shower in the gym before opening hours that I don't go home. But last night when I came back from the shower, something was sitting on my cot. Small, blue, grinning, the Labubu, and above the archive shelves, in the ceiling tiles, a new hatch had appeared with a tiny handprint on it. The night my younger sister sketched my funeral, she insisted she had no recollection of picking up the pencil. She swore she didn't remember drawing the coffin. She also claimed she couldn't recall sketching the church or the coffin dot or the blue-furred rabbit doll standing right beside my body, smiling. But the worst part wasn't the drawing that it was the voice she whispered when she handed it to me. He told me what's going to happen to you. I should have run that night. I should have burned the picture. I should have thrown out the doll. But fear makes you stupid. And now I don't sleep after 3 a.m. because that's when he starts calling my name my sister. The quiet artist, my name is Evan Hale, 22, and I live in a tiny town called Silverwood Bend. A place so boring our biggest headline last year was, "Man finds potato that looks like Santa." I moved back home after college to help my mom with my sister, Lily, who's 9. She's quiet, sweet. She has a talent for drawing. Her walls are covered in crayon forests, watercolor oceans, and glittery unicorns. But 3 weeks ago, she drew something different. Something is wrong. Not colorful. Not cute. A funeral, my funeral, and standing over the coffin was a blue stuffed creature with wide teeth, long ears, and button eyes. A Labubu. The doll that appeared out of nowhere. We don't buy toys often, money's tight. Birthdays only. So when I found the blue Labubu doll sitting on Lily's bed one morning, I assumed Mom had gotten it secondhand. "No," she said immediately. "I didn't buy that thing." We asked Lily. She shrugged. "He gave it to me." "Who?" She didn't answer. She just smiled. A strange smile, like she was remembering something that belonged to someone else. That night, I put the doll in the living room and told her she wasn't sleeping with it. She didn't argue. But at 2:48 a.m., I woke up thirsty, walked to the kitchen, and the doll was sitting on the floor outside my bedroom door, facing inward, head tilted. She appeared to be in a state of anticipation. The first sign the next morning, I found Lily in her room with crayons scattered everywhere. She was drawing furiously, shoulders tense, tongue between her teeth. "Hey," I said softly, "whatcha making?" She didn't look up. "He said you need to know," she whispered. "Who said?" "Lou." She pointed to the Labubu, sitting neatly beside her cups of markers. I forced a laugh. "Right? Your toy talks. Very funny." She finally looked up. And the way she looked at me, I still get chills. Her eyes weren't scared. They were empty. "Not funny," she said in a flat, borrowed voice. "He doesn't like when you don't believe him." I knelt beside her, trying not to show fear. "What is he telling you, Lily?" She lifted her new drawing, and my blood froze. It was me. I lay face down in the wooded area behind our house on my neck at an unnatural angle, a pool of dark red under my head, and in the corner of the page, scribbled in jagged blue crayon, 2:21 a.m. tonight. The woods behind our house that night. I locked my door. I did not lock my door to keep anything out. I locked my door to ensure it remains secure. Lily slept peacefully. The doll was in the living room again. Mom was away on a night shift at the diner. I stayed awake until 2:21 at T2:17. The house felt normal at T2:18. The wind stopped at T2:19. The floorboards creaked behind my door, soft, gentle. Like someone small was pacing at T2:20. My doorknob turned. Slowly, silently I held my breath. Seconds stretched. Then, tap, tap, tap. Knuckles, tiny ones. Evan. It was Lily's voice, but off, flat. She appeared as though she was interpreting a script she was unfamiliar with. "Come with me," she whispered. "It's time." I didn't open the door at T2:21. She went silent. At a moment later, I heard footsteps walking down the hallway, but they weren't hers. They were heavier, wrong. They appeared to be dragging their feet. I heard the front door unlock, then open, then shut up. I sprinted out. The living room was empty, and the deadbolt, a deadbolt Lily wasn't tall enough to reach, was unlocked. The front door stood cracked open. Outside, the woods loomed in complete darkness. A faint whisper drifted between the trees, laughing, calling. The search eye grabbed a flashlight and ran into the woods, branches whipping at my face. "Lily!" I screamed. "Where are you?" No answer. But then, up ahead, blue. Not bright. Not glowing. The Labubu doll was barely visible under the beam of my flashlight. The Labubu doll was lying on the ground. I picked it up. It was warm. Something cracked behind me. I spun the light around, and there, 10 feet back in the trees, was Lily, but her posture was wrong. Her arms hung too low, her head tilted too far. Her eyes reflected white like an animal caught in headlights. "Lily?" I whispered. She didn't blink. She didn't move, until her mouth stretched into a smile far too wide for her face. "He wants you." The thing wearing my sister's face. I stepped back slowly. "Lily, stop. You're scaring me." Her head twitched. She jerked like a fast insect. "He wants you?" she repeated, voice cracking. Then she lunged. Her voice split into two. Hers and something underneath, deep and wet. "Run!" I did. Branches clawed at my arms as I sprinted back toward the house. I didn't dare look behind me, not until I slammed the front door shut and locked every bolt. Inside, everything was silent again. Too silent. I waited all night with the lights on at sunrise. I went to check Lily's room. She was there, sleeping peacefully. The doll was gone. She didn't remember anything. The doll had disappeared, much like the drawing she had seen. The final picture. 3 days passed, and no woods, and no footsteps, and no whispering. I convinced myself maybe it was sleep paralysis, stress, anything. Then, yesterday morning, Lily handed me another drawing. "Lou said to give you this." My throat tightened. It wasn't a funeral this time, but it was a stairwell. Ours. This perspective is from someone lying on their back at the bottom of the stairwell. Blood pooled beside my head, and on the landing, the Labubu stood holding a pencil. Underneath, in Lily's shaky handwriting, "This time you won't run." I felt sick. I still feel sick. Mom's at work. Lily's asleep. And I'm sitting at the bottom of the stairs, my phone in my shaking hand, listening to something climb down each step. Tap, tap, tap. It's not my mother. Not Lily. Something smaller. Something smiling. He's coming. And this time, I think the drawing is right. The first time I saw him, he was standing under a street lamp at the end of my block. A tiny blue creature with button eyes, long ears drooping over his shoulders, and a smile that looked hand-stitched by someone who hated children. The second time I saw him, he was inside my apartment. .1. The night it started. My name is Aaron Miles, 25, living in Crescent Hollow, A quiet Maryland suburb where nothing interesting ever happens. I do freelance IT work, stay up too late, and order too much takeout. Basically the walking definition of boring. That all changed last Thursday night at IT was around 1:48. But I just finished patching a client's server and stepped outside to toss the trash. The neighborhood was dead silent, streetlights buzzing. The damp asphalt glinted in the light rain. But then, a shape by the lamppost, small, blue, perfectly still. The Labubu plush was standing upright at first. I figured someone's kid left it outside. Then it looked up. It did not turn its head. It did not shift its body. Looked up. The creature was staring directly at me. I blinked. When my eyes opened, it was gone. Just vanished. No rustle. No footsteps. Nothing. I told myself I was worn out. Overworked. I should have listened to that voice. Point 2. A gift on my doorstep the next morning. A box sat outside my apartment door. No address, no name. Just a brown paper package tied with string. I opened it. Inside was the same blue Labubu doll, sitting upright, head tilted. I froze. I didn't buy this. I didn't order anything. No one knew about what I saw last night. There was a note under the doll, written in thin, shaky pencil. He likes your face. My stomach twisted. I dropped the box, kicked it away, slammed the door shut, and deadbolted. All day, a heaviness clung to my apartment. Like the air was too thick. Like someone unseen was leaning over my shoulder. 3 p.m. My kitchen light started flickering. 5 p.m. The shower turned on by itself. My phone's camera opened at 8 p.m. without my having to touch it. And he pointed at the hallway. I didn't sleep that night. Point 3. The scratching in the walls at 2:57 a.m. I heard it. Scratch, scratch, scratch. The sound emanated from the wall behind my bed, slow, deliberate. The sound resembled the squeaking of tiny fingers on wood. I pressed my ear against the wall. The scratching stopped. Then, a giggle. High-pitched, childlike. The voice was coming from the opposite side. I stumbled back, knocking over a lamp. Who's there? I shouted. Even though I knew no human child was inside my walled silence, my phone buzzed at a text. The text was from an unknown number. Don't yell. He doesn't like yelling. I dropped the phone. When I picked it up again, the contact had disappeared. Point 4. The mirror moment. By the third night, I was losing it and no sleep. Barely eating. I was jumpy at every sound. It was around 11:30 p.m. when I first noticed something off in my bathroom. The mirror was fogged. But I hadn't showered. I wiped the glass and froze. Behind me, standing in the hallway, was the blue Labubu, motionless, staring at my reflection. I spun. Nothing. Just an empty hallway. I swallowed hard. Walked toward the hall. Turned on the light. There on the floor was a single strand of blue fur, curled like smoke. I didn't sleep. Again. Point 5. The girl next door, my neighbor Harlow, a quiet girl who worked nights at a cafe, knocked on my door the next day. Are you okay? She asked gently. You look dead. Just tired. I lied. She frowned. I heard something last night. Thought someone was scratching your door. My blood froze so it wasn't in my head. Before I could respond, her eyes drifted to something behind me. What's that? She whispered. I turned. The Labubu doll was sitting on my couch, even though I had burned the box yesterday. Its head was tilted at an eyeless stare fixed on Harlow. I didn't put that there. I stuttered. She stepped back. You need to get rid of that thing. I tried. Then try harder. 6. The footsteps that night. Everything escalated. 1:12 a.m. Footsteps echoed in my apartment. Slow, careful, bare feet. I grabbed a kitchen knife. Who's in here? I whispered shakily. No answer. There were only soft footsteps circling my living room. Then the light turned off. Darkness swallowed everything that a giggle drifted inches from my ear. He likes your face. I swung wildly, hitting nothing. The light flicked back on. The Labubu doll sat on the table, facing me. Its grin is wider, too wide. 7. The video in shaking hands. I picked up my phone and opened my camera. App.it had already been recording. My heart sank. I pressed play to end the video. The doll wasn't sitting. I was walking, small limbs jerking like a marionette. Its head is twitching, its teeth clicking softly. At one point, it leaned toward my sleeping body on the couch and whispered, "Soon." Then the doll turned to face the camera and smiled. 8. The night irony couldn't take another second. I grabbed my backpack, my keys, and my phone, and bolted. I ran barefoot into the parking lot, rain soaking me instantly. When I reached my car, my heart dropped. The Labubu doll was sitting on the hood, smiling, waiting. A note taped to its chest. "Don't leave," I screamed. Ran the other way. I continued to run until I arrived at a diner that was open 24/7. I stayed there until sunrise. 9. The final message. When I returned home the next afternoon, the entire apartment felt wrong. The air smelled metallic. Heavy. My bedroom door was open. On my pillow sat the Labubu doll, neatly placed. The doll rested its head on its paws. My phone buzzed. I looked. There was a fresh message waiting for me. The message came from my own phone. "You can run, Aaron, but you can't hide from something that already lives in your walls." I dropped the phone. The floorboards behind me creaked, slowly, softly. Something small was breathing inches from my neck. I'm writing this from the stairwell, ready to run again, but I can hear him, crawling down the hall, dragging his fur across the floor. He is clicking his teeth. He followed me home once. He will do it again. He is drawn to my face, and he's not done with me yet.